My name is Avery, and my journey into teaching began after enduring the rigorous training at an engineer teachers college. Once I graduated, I was thrilled to secure a position at one of the top schools in the area. My aspirations were simple yet fulfilling. Teach, possibly explore writing, and eventually start a family with someone special, whenever he might appear. Surprisingly, that special someone entered my life sooner than anticipated, thanks to my college friend, Eden. Over coffee on a blustery Saturday, Eden insisted, "Avery, you have to meet Liam. He's serious about finding a genuine connection, and I think you two would hit it off." That evening, Liam and I met at a cozy local bar. His towering presence and boisterous laugh were unmistakable in the crowd. My nervousness had me fussing with my hair constantly, but his warm smile quickly dissolved my anxiety. "You must be Avery," he greeted with a grin. "Eden has told me so much about you." No pressure, right? We laughed, and the ice was broken. Liam, a finance officer, described his job with such enthusiasm that it sounded like an adventure. He shared his love for hiking, his dislike for sushi, and his penchant for cheesy 100s movies. For years down the line, we were planning our wedding and setting up our home. The ceremony was a quaint garden affair, attended only by close friends and family, which suited us perfectly. Liam's mother, Natalie, seemed pleasant and was always ready to lend a hand. However, as Liam and I settled into our new life together, the pressures of starting a family began to mount, initially subtly, but soon they were unavoidable. "Avery, when are you giving me a grandchild?" "Liam's my only chance," Natalie would remark casually during her visits, turning it into a repetitive mantra that grew increasingly insistent. I tried to remain diplomatic, replying with a forced smile. "We're working on it, Natalie. These things take time." One evening, while cleaning up after dinner, Liam noticed my strained expression.
Hey, sorry about Mom.
"She's just really excited. We're okay, right?" I reassured him, "Yeah, we're okay, although I wonder how long we could fend off the mounting pressure without it affecting us deeply." Living with the relentless nudging to start a family felt like navigating a minefield of escalating expectations. Natalie's persistence wore thin, much like sandpaper on my frayed nerves. On a sunny Saturday, as Liam and I enjoyed a rare relaxed breakfast, Natalie's car pulled up. Before she stepped inside, I braced for another bout of her grandchild campaign. "Morning, you two," she breezed into the kitchen, full of anticipation, immediately broaching the topic of grandchildren after mentioning a christening she'd attended. Liam coughed on his coffee, and I offered a polite smile, attempting to steer the conversation elsewhere. Natalie pressed on, "Avery, you're not getting any younger. It's all about timing. Maybe you should see a doctor or try those fertility treatments I read about." Feeling cornered, I finally responded with more force than intended. "Natalie, we are perfectly capable of managing our own affairs. We will consult a doctor if and when we see fit, not because we're on a schedule." Liam's hand found mine under the table, a silent gesture of support. "Mom, really?" he interjected, signaling for calm. Navigating these family dynamics proved challenging, but it was a chapter in our lives that tested our resilience and unity as a couple. Our lives are our own to shape, and on that quiet morning, the atmosphere was a delicate balance of respect and tension. Natalie sighed dramatically, her frustration palpable, as she expressed her desire to spend quality time with her grandchildren while she was still fully able to enjoy them. "Is it too much to ask to see my grandkids while I still can?" she questioned, her tone laced with urgency. "We have more in our lives than just starting a family, Natalie. We have careers, plans of our own." I began cautiously, feeling Liam's gentle squeeze on my hand as a silent plea to approach the conversation with care. "I know, but remember, family is everything," Natalie countered sharply, clutching her purse as she prepared to leave. Her parting words, "Just think about what I said, okay?" left a lingering tension that felt almost tangible. After her departure, Liam and I remained silent, each lost in thought. It was becoming clear that Natalie's visits were turning into a recurring battlefield, with us perpetually on the defensive. Later that day, feeling the need to clear our heads, we took a leisurely walk in the park. She's my mom and I love her, but I can't stand how she pushes us, like ticking off some checklist for life. Liam vented, frustration evident in his voice. I understand she's excited, but it feels like she's more concerned about being a grandmother than our own happiness and health, I replied, the frustration simmering within me. It's as if we aren't real to her unless we have a child. We need to set some boundaries, Avery. Next time she brings it up, we need to be clear, firm but clear, Liam resolved as we headed home, the gravity of our situation settling heavily. Setting boundaries with Natalie would be challenging, but it was essential, not just for our peace, but for our future. After enduring numerous tense moments and difficult conversations, our greatest hope was realized. I was pregnant. The joy Liam and I felt was indescribable, a surreal haze of happiness enveloping us. However, Natalie's enthusiasm returned, more overwhelming than ever. During a weekend spent preparing the nursery, she arrived unannounced, proudly wearing a bright pink t-shirt emblazoned with "Future Grandmother." "Look at this, isn't it cute?" she beamed, showing off the shirt. "Got it custom-made." "Natalie, could you maybe not announce it to everyone yet?" "We're still early in the process, and we're trying to be cautious," I said, hoping to gently temper her excitement. "Oh, honey, when you have news this good, you shout it from the rooftops." Natalie responded, her voice rising with each word, her excitement impossible to contain. The following weeks were a whirlwind of Natalie's constant check-ins and advice, often overwhelming. Her frequent visits, laden with old wives' tales about pregnancy do's and don'ts, became suffocating. "Natalie, I appreciate your help, really, but this hovering is stressing me out," I finally snapped one evening, overwhelmed by her well-meaning but intrusive presence. Despite the mounting pressure and my busy schedule as an engineer teacher, I was determined to maintain as much normalcy as possible. Yet, the challenges of balancing work with my pregnancy loomed large, especially one day at school, while explaining a math problem to my fourth graders. I experienced a sharp pain that abruptly stopped me mid-sentence, sending the room spinning as the chalk fell from my grasp and darkness enveloped everything. When I regained consciousness, I found myself in a hospital bed, overwhelmed by the clinical scent of antiseptic even before I opened my eyes. Liam was there beside me, his face drawn and pale, clutching my hand as if it were his only anchor. His voice, fragile and breaking, delivered grave news. It was critical. "Avery, you nearly didn't make it," he whispered. "We lost the baby." The words struck me like a physical assault, leaving me breathless and in tears. I was alive, but the cost was immense. The doctor entered, his expression somber, adjusting his glasses before speaking. "Avery, the complications were severe. I'm afraid you won't be able to have children in the future. It's a rare and tragic situation." The coldness of the room intensified, the walls seemingly drawing closer as the heavy weight of this reality pressed down on me. Liam's hand squeeze offered a slight comfort amidst the vast sea of my sorrow. Just as I thought the situation couldn't worsen, Natalie burst into my room like a storm of misplaced anger and desperation. "I heard what happened. So, when are you trying again?" "We need to start planning," she demanded, ignoring my fragile state, still connected to medical drips and aching from the loss. "Natalie, I can't have children anymore. The surgery..." My voice faltered, the harsh truth hitting me anew. "What do you mean you can't? That's nonsense." Natalie's face flushed a deep red, her anger palpable as she stormed out to presumably find a doctor who would deny the irreversible. Liam's eyes, filled with silent apologies, conveyed his regret for his mother's insensitivity. However, Natalie returned soon, her anger now reinforced by the doctor's confirmation. "They said what? This is ridiculous. You've robbed me of the chance to become a grandmother." Her shouts were so loud that a nurse peeked inside, her expression one of concern. "Mom, please," Liam intervened. "This isn't helping. Avery needs to rest." "Rest? What she needs is to think about her family, about us. This is selfish." Natalie's words cut sharply, each one slicing through whatever composure I had managed to maintain. "I'm not choosing this, Natalie. Why can't you understand? I almost died, I exclaimed, my voice a blend of pain and frustration. Natalie's gaze narrowed. If you were more careful, this wouldn't have happened. You've always been too focused on your career. Maybe that's why. She began, but Liam cut her off. Enough, he roared. Mom, leave now. We'll talk when you're ready to be reasonable. But she wasn't finished. Turning to me, her words venomous, she hissed, You're not worthy of my son. You can't give him what he needs. You're not a real woman. Her cruel words seared into my memory as a tear rolled down my cheek, its saltiness mingling with the bitterness of her judgment. Liam practically dragged her out, her protests still echoing down the hallway. Recovery would be slow, both physically and emotionally, in the shadow of such a profound loss and harsh words. When I finally made it back home, the feeling of emptiness was all-consuming. I tried returning to my teaching job, hoping the familiar routines and the children's laughter would offer some comfort. However, their joyful noises only reminded me of my deep loss. During this period, I started seeing a psychologist, and her advice was gentle yet profound. You need to mourn, Maya, not just for your lost child, but for the chapter of your life that has ended, Dr. Quinn explained during one of our sessions. Her intentions were healing, but her words also emphasized the permanence of my loss. One particularly tough week prompted a significant decision. Over a subdued dinner, I admitted to Liam, I can't keep teaching right now. When I look at the children, I'm reminded of what I've lost. I pondered a quieter environment and decided to take a job at the local library. The tranquil corridors lined with books and the soft murmur of patrons provided a sanctuary for my healing heart, away from the scrutiny and expectations of others. Even as I adjusted to the serene library life, my mother-in-law Natalie's presence loomed heavily. Her constant talk of grandchildren became more intrusive and accusatory as time went on. On my birthday, a day I had hoped would be filled with lightness, Natalie confronted me in the kitchen as I was about to cut the cake. Her whisper was venomous. When are you going to fix this, Maya? You need to give Liam children. I stood frozen, the knife quivering in my grip. With resolve, I responded, Liam and I are considering adoption. It's a wonderful way to create a family. Her response was sharp and filled with disdain. Adoption? Over my dead body. Natalie exclaimed, her face twisting in disgust. I won't have you bring some unknown child into our family. Who knows what terrible traits they might carry? No grandchild of mine will come from someone else. Her outburst reverberated through the kitchen, silencing the nearby living room. The oppressive gaze of the gathered family felt like a stifling blanket. That was the final straw. That's enough, Natalie, I said firmly, letting the knife clatter to the countertop as I faced her directly. You don't get to decide how Liam and I build our family. This is our life, our choice. Natalie's eyes narrowed, and she stormed out, slamming the door behind her so hard the windows shook. The room fell silent, the joy of the day drained by her exit. The seeds of discord Natalie had planted quickly sprouted. Initially, there were subtle nudges and looks, suggesting I had been careless during my pregnancy. These whispers soon turned into vicious gossip, claiming I had been drinking and acting irresponsibly, which they said led to my miscarriage. Fury built within me like a brewing storm, especially after hearing a particularly cruel version of the rumor from someone I had thought was a friend. I had a serious conversation with Natalie over the phone. Natalie, this needs to end now. Spreading false stories about me is hurtful and legally slanderous, and I will not stand for it. If I hear even one more rumor, I'm going straight to the police to press charges. My tone was firm and decisive. There was a brief silence on the other end, a tense pause that seemed like the calm before a storm. Eventually, she responded, her voice lacking its usual intensity. You wouldn't dare. Try me, Natalie. I'm not playing nice anymore. Following our call, the rumors ceased as abruptly as they had begun, but the damage lingered. Family gatherings were now punctuated with an awkward formality, the once warm smiles unable to melt the frosty atmosphere. Life superficially seemed to return to normal, but everything had subtly shifted due to someone's twisted idea of a joke. One morning, I found an electronic postcard in my inbox showing a happy family scene that felt like a jab to my heart. The message below in harsh, mocking letters read, "You will never be a mother." I was shaken to the core. As if that wasn't cruel enough, physical manifestations of this malice soon began to appear. One afternoon, I discovered a box on our porch containing dolls smeared grotesquely with ketchup and a note twisting the knife further. "This is your fault. You are to blame for losing your child." Each new message, each package, was a strike against my already fragile emotional state. I often found myself in tears, overwhelmed by the cruelty. "Look at this, Liam," I said one evening, handing him another disturbing package, my hands trembling and my voice a whisper. "It's too much. I can't handle it anymore." Liam acted quickly, suggesting we consult our neighbor, Mr. Samuel, who had security cameras that might have captured something. The next day, Mr. Samuel kindly helped us review the footage. There it was, unmistakable and clear. Natalie was the one leaving these horrific packages at our door. The relief of knowing mixed with a renewed sense of betrayal. "I can't believe Mom would go this far," Liam said, his face etched with disgust. Armed with the evidence, we confronted Natalie at her house. The video was paused on the screen, showing her caught in the act. "Look at this, Mom. How could you?" Liam's voice was cold, his usual warmth gone as he pushed the laptop towards her. The betrayal resonated in his tone. Natalie glanced at the screen, her expression stone cold, then shrugged without remorse. "She's spoiled goods, Liam. An inferior woman who can't carry on the family line. I did what I thought was necessary for you, for the family." Liam stepped in front of me, his stance protective. "If you can't accept Avery, then you can't be part of our lives. This is your last chance, Mom. Apologize or we're done." Natalie's face set hard, her eyes unyielding. "I'm only doing this for you, Liam. She's taking you away from what you deserve." The ride home was silent, each of us lost in our thoughts. The weight of Natalie's betrayal was a heavy burden I bore, while Liam wrestled with the strain of his deteriorating relationship with his mother. Liam had become uncharacteristically withdrawn, his usual jovial spirit dimmed by the tension that lingered in the silence between him and his mother. It was evident he still longed for her presence, despite the rift. So, when Natalie extended a Christmas invitation, I accepted it for Liam's sake, harboring a sliver of hope for some form of reconciliation. We arrived at a house alive with the hustle of family and friends, the air rich with the mingling aromas of pine and mulled wine. Natalie welcomed us with a strained smile, her eyes flicking around nervously. I clung to Liam's arm as we navigated through the crowd of guests. The evening initially unfolded with ease, filled with laughter and conversation. However, the atmosphere shifted dramatically when Liam's ex-fiancée, Sadie, made an unexpected appearance. Natalie introduced her with an unsettling announcement. "As you all know, Avery is unable to have children, so I think it's time Liam reconsidered his options. Sadie is willing to step in and give me the grandchildren I've been longing for." Her voice cut through the room, both clear and sharp. A heavy silence engulfed us. I was frozen, heart hammering in my chest. Liam, voice low and filled with anger, responded, "Mom, what are you doing? I didn't agree to any of this." Unable to contain my distress any longer, I spoke up. "How could you?" My gaze swept over the crowd, each face reflecting back their shock. I revealed the extent of Natalie's harassment, hateful messages, disturbing packages, by showing a video captured by Mr. Samuel, security camera. The footage laid bare Natalie's reprehensible actions, eliciting gasps of disbelief and murmurs of disgust from the room. Sadie, taken aback, quickly clarified her position. "I had no idea about any of this. Natalie simply invited me to catch up. I'm actually engaged to someone else, and not looking to disrupt that." She turned to me, her expression one of genuine regret. "Avery, I'm so sorry. I was never part of this scheme. I never wanted children, which is why Liam and I parted ways." The room transformed into a hub of whispered conversations and stunned expressions as friends and relatives began to leave, their faces a mixture of embarrassment and outrage. It was clear where their sympathies lay. Natalie, now pale and flustered, attempted to defend her actions, but it was too late. Liam's voice, cold and resolute, cut through. By trying to ensure I had a proper family, you destroyed the one you already had. I don't consider you my mother anymore. We're done. Natalie. Months after that tumultuous Christmas, Liam and I found peace as we engaged in the adoption process, our hearts and minds eagerly anticipating the new addition to our family. It was a period filled with hope and healing. Yet, despite the calm, Natalie attempted to reinsert herself into our lives one brisk morning with a knock at the door. Opening it, I found Natalie standing there, a last-ditch effort to bridge the gap she had created. In her eyes, tinged with regret, Avery confessed her mistakes to me, her voice quivering. I've been reflecting deeply, and I realize the errors I've made, she said, her vulnerability apparent. She stood at the threshold, the door slightly open, a symbol that she was not to enter. I've been selfish, blinded by my desires, and I've hurt you and Liam deeply. I'm sincerely sorry. Could we possibly start anew? I replied cautiously, Natalie, after all that's happened, it's not that straightforward. Liam and I are focused on adopting a child now. My tone was resolute, mirroring my determination. The mention of adoption visibly shook her, her face twisting as old biases surfaced. You can't seriously think about adopting a child from outside the family. It's just not right. That's exactly what we're doing, Natalie. And it's not up to you, I responded firmly, my patience waning. This is absurd, Avery. You're making a huge mistake. A real family? She argued. No, Natalie, we're through here. I didn't wait for her reply. I closed the door sharply, the click of the latch marking the end of our relationship. Inside, Liam waited, having overheard the conversation. Everything okay? He asked, descending the stairs. It is now, I replied, finding solace in his embrace. I told her about the adoption, and she took it poorly. It's truly over now. Liam nodded, his face set with resolve. Together, let's make it official. We blocked Natalie's number and informed our friends and family of our decision to cut ties with her for the sake of our future family's peace. As we moved forward with the adoption, every step was filled with excitement and anticipation. We completed forms, went to interviews, and prepared a nursery brimming with love and the promise of new beginnings. As the waiting period drew to a close, I returned to teaching, the joy of interacting with the children reigniting a spark within me that had dimmed during those challenging times. Standing before my class, I realized my growth and resilience. The children's laughter resonated through the halls, a sweet sound filling the void left by lost dreams. It reminded me that while some doors close, others open, revealing a future filled with hope and the laughter of a child who would soon call us Mom and Dad.